Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Hey, y'all. Good morning. Wake up and win. Wake up and win. Wake up and win. Listen, I am super excited to be on with you all on this thankful Thursday. You may be wondering, why does she have this blanket or throw? It's a throw, really, over me. Couple of reasons. Number one, it's freezing cold in my house, in the studio, and my children have the heater in their room. I live in an older building, and you all know these older buildings don't have HVAC systems. They don't have heating. Well, they have. I have a heater, but it's the heating system is in the back part of the unit, and so these older buildings they weren't made to accommodate heat and what you call it, HVAC. The heat and AC. And so when it's really cold, even though I have on, like, my long sleeve shirt and all that stuff, it's cold. So I somebody gave me this wonderful throw. I'm a pastor also here in Los Angeles. So somebody gave me this wonderful throw for their pastor. And it's actually very warm and cozy and it's not too thick. So it allows me to function and flow and do what I gotta do, even with this on. So now that we've gotten out the distraction out the way, let's get into it, shall we? Come on, say with me, wake up and win, wake up and win, wake up and win. Look at me knocking my glasses off. Okay, okay, we're here. So listen, I'm super excited to share today's win word with you. I was in thought and process and preparation for this week, and one of the things that came up was the word hard. And look, I get it all together. This week we're talking about the power of self awareness, the power of self awareness. And one of the things that I have learned as relates to the power of self awareness is that having a clearer sense of self awareness diminishes excuses, right? A clearer sense of self awareness kills excuses. This may not be exhaustive, meaning like this not an absolute for everybody, but by and large, when I have a clearer sense of self awareness, because I understand who I am, the things that trigger me, what I respond to, what I don't respond to, because I have a better sense of what motivates me, what doesn't motivate me, what are my preferences, what are not my preferences, because this is all the work that we do in establishing a clearer sense of self awareness, which is also what I coach about. And I'm a licensed distributor of the DISC assessment. So I'm a licensed coach for the DISC assessment. So if you want to do the DISC assessment coaching, in the description, there are ways to contact me for that and do some what we call Win With Me coaching. Actually, I would meet with a client today. So, but a clearer sense of self awareness diminishes excuses because now I understand better what motivates me, what doesn't, what moves me, what doesn't, what gives me momentum, what doesn't. And a lot of times we make excuses because there are things that we have unanswered about ourselves, right? Um, and one of the biggest excuses that I hear from people is it's hard. But hard doesn't make it impossible. Hard is just hard. But a lot of times we use hard synonymous with impossible. So people say it's hard. What they're really trying to say is it's not possible for me. But something that's hard is just hard, but it's not impossible. And when we have a clearer sense of self awareness, we look, then you're able to understand, why is this hard for me, and why am I triggered by hard, that I stop moving forward, that I stop going, processing and progressing, right? What is it about me that is turned away from hard, and what does hard do to me, right? Just what does hard think, like, when things are hard, that's what I'm trying to say, when things are hard, what does that bring up for me, right? Because a lot of times people use the word, it's hard, it's too difficult, and what they're really saying is there's something about me or something going on with me that doesn't want to overcome what's hard or difficult, or I feel like I can't, right? But when I have a clearer sense of self-awareness, the excuse of hard is diminished because I better understand what motivates me to keep going, what builds momentum to keep moving forward? What are the triggers that will maybe even cause me to retreat? And so this work of getting a clearer sense of self-awareness really is a game changer when it comes to excuse making. And if you know that of yourself that you make a lot of excuses, and a lot of people do, so you're not by yourself. I have. I'm not saying I've never made excuses for myself. I do. I have. But I also in having a better sense of self-awareness, a clearer sense of self-awareness, I understand why I call certain things hard and difficult, and why in the past I've used that as an excuse not to do something or not to press forward in something, right? I have a what I'm really saying is, and then I go into what I'm really saying. So for example, I'm not a fan of washing dishes. I'm just not a fan of washing dishes, right? Um, and I might say, I'm not saying this what I've said, but I might say because I don't like washing dishes. Oh, it's too hard. It's too hard to wash dishes. And as a result of that, I don't wash the dishes or I don't wash them as often or they, don't get done. I'm passing them off to other people. And I'm just using this as an example, right? So when I have a clearer sense of self-awareness, it's like, what is it about dishes that you don't like doing them, right? And maybe it's the time to stand up. Um, maybe that may feel like drudgery. Some people may feel like, oh, somebody else might feel like, well, dishes. I had a childhood trauma around doing dishes. I would get, you know, in trouble if I didn't wash them properly. So now I have an aversion towards washing dishes. Or, somebody might say, well, I don't like washing dishes because washing dishes is beneath me. I personally feel like that's a job for someone who's a cleaning lady or, a maid servant. Because when I was a child, we had maids or we had, a cleaning crew that came in the house. And so I've always seen that as, a job for, cleaning people, right? So a clearer sense of self awareness around not washing dishes does away with the excuse of it's hard. It's just hard. It's just hard. It's one of the biggest excuses people make, and they tell themselves that story over and over and over again and end up doing nothing because it's hard. Because mentally, I've convinced myself it's too hard to do, right? But hard is just hard. It's not impossible. And so, what I want to encourage in this season of your life, as we are working through this week or focusing this week on a clearer sense of self awareness, is to track two things. I want to challenge you to track when you use the word hard. When does it come up for you? How often do you use it, and when do you use it? What are the activities where you're convincing yourself that something is hard, where that's your main excuse? Your excuse is, oh, that's hard. That's hard. And then once you have identified where you're seeing it the most, or what's going on, what's the situation when that tends to come up for you, then I want you to begin to engage that area with a level of questioning around, why is this hard for me? When it's not impossible, why is this hard for me? What's coming up for me that this is hard? And I want you to do that and plunge into it and deep dive into it as much as you need to until you really get a clear answer and you have a clearer sense of self awareness. And you will begin to do away with the excuse of it just being hard. Why? Because now you understand what's really going on with you, what's really coming up for you, and even, um, working through how to get over that. And again, this is a working through process. So I don't want to. So yeah, so it's a working through process, right? So, so you'll work through that. You'll work through that, and you'll keep doing it over and over and over again until you have a clear sense of self awareness. And what you will find is you'll diminish or do away with the use of excuses like it's hard, because now you understand what's coming up for you. Now you have a better sense of what's happening to you or not happening to you. Now you have a better sense of what, you know, where does this thing come from, right? Where does the issue come from? And so that's why we want to encourage you to do a deeper dive so that way you can begin to do away the excuses that are holding you back, because excuses are nothing more than ropes, and they hold us back. You ever been to a club where there's a rope and they only let certain people in? Yeah, the rope is to detain those on the outside. And so that's what excuses serve as, like that that rope that detains people and holds people back from coming into the club. And I get it, you can't everybody bum rush, but the point being is that excuses operates like that rope, right, holding us back. But I want to decree and declare that you won't be held back any longer, that you won't allow yourself to be held back by any excuses. And that I decree and declare that you're going to do the work of tapping into your own personal sense of self awareness, a greater sense of self awareness, and put away with all the excuses. It's holding you back. They're holding you back. And there's so much more for you to do, be, have, and/or possess. But excuses, the excuses that are going unchecked, that are going unfiltered, that are going unexamined, are holding you back. So let's not get held back by for for anybody or any reason, especially because of an excuse. Especially because of an excuse. All right. So do that work, and tomorrow we'll be on with our concluding episode around gaining a clearer sense of self awareness, and why this ties into really the theme of our programming, which is overcoming major loss and still winning, right? Because there's some things about your self awareness that when you're experiencing trauma or a great loss, there's some things about your self awareness that you need to know. So we're going to talk more about that tomorrow, right? Gaining a clearer sense of self awareness, um, maybe even during a grieving period, or after, or when you feel like you're better. But what does having a clearer sense of self-awareness help me to process when I'm grieving, when I'm experiencing loss and devastation? So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. So join us tomorrow for another episode of Wake Up and Win Show with your girl, Dr. Najuma. So glad to have you on. Listen, if you want to do some Win With Me coaching, click the link in the description below. Click the link in the description below. But also like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. I need y'all to help me get some subscriptions up. And I'm looking forward to continue to serve all of you. So we'll be back on tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Have an amazing day. Thank you. Thank you. Peace. We out.